When the first scream ripped across the cul-de-sac, I thought someone was being attacked. But no, it was just Karen, our HOA President, self-appointed queen of the neighborhood, was standing on her driveway, waving her phone in the air like a siren. And I didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of a war she would lose in the most poetic way imaginable. The wind carried her voice straight to me as I unloaded groceries. "There he is," she shrieked. "The rule breaker. The neighborhood menace." I froze, an apple rolling out of the bag and bouncing once before it settled. I didn't even know what she was accusing me of this time. Last week, it had been my trash can being placed 3 inches outside the approved zone. Before that, she claimed my grass was aggressively green. Honestly, I still don't know what that meant. But today was different. Her eyes were gleaming with something beyond irritation. This time, she wanted destruction. And she didn't know she was about to set a trap for herself. It all began when my wife, Sarah, moved in. A quiet woman, soft-spoken, always reading, always smiling politely. But for Karen, her existence alone was a violation. The first time they crossed paths, Sarah had been watering the roses in front of the house. We lived in a corner lot, visible from every angle on the street, something Karen took advantage of. She marched right up to her. "You can't water at this hour," she snapped, hands on hips. HOA rules clearly forbid watering past 8 a.m. "It's 7:45, my wife replied gently. "Don't argue," Karen hissed. "You're new here. Learn the rules." From that moment on, Karen watched her like a hawk. If the blinds tilted wrong, if the front door stayed open too long, if a delivery truck parked in front of our house for 30 seconds, she had something to report. But the day that started it all, the day of the scream, was the day Sarah walked alone through the neighborhood at dusk. A peaceful walk, earbuds in, no trouble, except Karen saw her. She thought Sarah was suspicious. She thought my wife didn't belong. So she called the cops. A patrol car pulled up behind my wife just as she was turning onto our street. I saw it from the window, and my blood boiled. 2 officers stepped out. "Ma'am, we received a report." "For walking?" Sarah asked, blinking. Behind the patrol car, standing on the sidewalk like she'd just saved the world, was Karen. Recording. Smiling. I stormed out. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "She was casing houses," Karen said, as if she hadn't just insulted the kindest person alive. "She didn't identify herself as a resident." "She lives here," I snapped. The cops apologized when they realized Karen's report was nonsense. But the damage was done. My wife went inside in silence, her hands trembling. And that's when something in me snapped too. But revenge? Oh, that came from someone much calmer than I was. What Karen didn't know, what she never bothered to consider, was that my wife wasn't just quiet. She wasn't just polite. She was an attorney. A damn good one. And she had just accepted a new position. One she hadn't told anyone in the neighborhood about yet. 2 weeks after the cop incident, a certified letter appeared in our mailbox. A violation notice. For unauthorized plant growth. The unauthorized plant. A single dandelion. I stared at the letter in disbelief. And then Sarah walked in, picked it up, read it once, and smiled, not sadly, not defeated, but with a calm, chilling amusement I had never seen on her face before. "She wants a fight," she murmured. "Fine. What are you going to do?" She only said 4 words. Let her dig deeper. And oh, she did. For the next month, Karen came after everything, our trash bin placement, our wind chimes, even the color of our welcome mat. She issued fines so quickly it felt like she had a printer under her bed. But then, mid-October, a note went out to the entire neighborhood. All residents must attend a mandatory HOA meeting. A serious legal matter will be addressed. Nobody knew what it was about. But I knew. I heard Sarah rehearsing arguments at night, her voice low, controlled. I saw the documents she spread across her desk. HOA bylaws, state statutes, violations of civil code, misuse of authority. The night of the meeting arrived. Neighbors shuffled in, irritated, whispering, annoyed at being dragged away from their evenings. Karen sat at the head of the long table, smug, clipboard ready. When she saw my wife walk in with a slim black briefcase, she blinked. Then frowned. Then scoffed. "You can sit down," she told Sarah. "This is for HOA board members only." And then, from the corner of the room, the HOA treasurer cleared his throat. "Actually, she can't sit down. Every head turned. She's the new counsel assigned to review HOA legal compliance. Karen's jaw fell open. Sarah placed the briefcase on the table, clicked it open, and neatly stacked documents in front of her. "Good evening," she said softly. "Let's begin." Karen tried. She tried to interrupt. She tried to argue. She tried to laugh it off. But the more she spoke, the more she trapped herself. Because every petty violation she issued, every time she selectively enforced a rule, every time she harassed us or other residents, every time she used HOA authority for personal grudges, Sarah had the records. Page 17, she said at one point. "You fined the Martins for a bicycle on their porch, yet allowed 3 other residents, your friends, to keep children's toys on theirs. Selective enforcement." Murmurs rose across the room. Page 24. "You reported Mrs. Henderson's dog as dangerous. The dog in question is a blind Shih Tzu." A few chuckles. Page 31. "You called the police on a resident for walking in her own neighborhood." The room went silent. Karen's face turned red, then pale, then a blotchy mix of both. "This is absurd. I was keeping the neighborhood safe. By abusing your authority," Sarah asked gently. "By violating Civil Code Section 420.3 against harassment by an HOA official. By misusing emergency services. By issuing unlawful fines." Karen slammed her hand on the table. "I did nothing wrong." Sarah slid a final document forward. A petition signed by 22 residents. 22 out of 30. A petition to remove Karen as HOA president. When Karen saw her friend's signatures, people she thought she controlled, her mouth hung open in betrayal. Effective immediately, Sarah said, "You are removed from the board. And pending review, you may be held financially liable for unlawful fines and misuse of HOA power." The vote was unanimous. Even her friends didn't defend her. Karen stood, stumbled, and sputtered, You planned this. You tricked me." Sarah looked at her calmly. "You dug your own grave. I'm just reading the map." Karen moved out 3 weeks later. Not because anyone forced her to, but because she couldn't bear to live in a neighborhood where she no longer ruled. After she left, the street felt lighter. Calmer. Peaceful. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sun dip behind the rooftops, I turned to my wife. "You never even raised your voice," I said. "How did you stay so calm?" She leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder. "Because people like her," she murmured, "expect you to fight with anger. They never see it coming when you fight with the law." And just like that, the neighborhood's queen had been dethroned by the one woman she underestimated the most.